I've no guest sitting across from me, so this is a Grow With Me solo episode. The main trench that I'm in, let's call it that, is the financial hole. So for me, being in this financial hole, the first thing that I dove into, or that I realized, was one. The other component that really came up was I needed to put some of the habits that I had to the side, more specifically. And this is the beauty of the whole journey of leaning in, self-discovery as well as self-awareness. So when you have self-awareness of yourself, you're able to. The other tool that I've leaned into heavily is and that's the muscle that we're training. It's the muscle of perspective, it's the muscle of attention, and it's the muscle of attitude. And then we're just going to move into the offering, and that offering is the wānanga, the Seeds of Life Wānanga that is happening next weekend. No mai, hoki mai to the Planting Seeds podcast. I have no guest sitting across from me, so this is a Grow With Me solo episode. And to be honest, these are a lot harder to do than it is the full episode sharing it with someone. But what this is going to be about is me just sharing some of the reflections and recent learnings that I've been navigating through on a personal level. The other thing that I'll be speaking about is around the Seeds of Life Wānanga that I'm facilitating and hosting next weekend. Now, you have the Planting Seeds podcast, and we have my online course, Seeds of Self. And then the Seeds of Life is the development to bring people together who are open to learning, growing, and showing up for themselves. And the main theme of the wānanga is breaking through the conditions to reach the unconditional part of you, which is the authentic version of you. But I'll speak more about that towards the end, because I'm going to be dropping into, the things that I've been facing and things that I've been leaning into. Now, I want to do a big mihi first and foremost to the tāne who have come onto the podcast, brother to brother, and been really enjoying the conversations, the stories, and the gems that have been shared on this table in the mobile studio. And the response has been amazing. Really, really cool to see the shift of engagement and people really enjoying the stories that have been shared. And I've been taking a whole lot myself as they've been resonating with the challenges that I've been facing. And I've been sharing a little bit about those things in the podcast episode. So a big mihi to the bros who have allowed me the space. But in this session, we're going to dive deeper into the details, the specific details around some of those things. And the main trench that I'm in, let's call it that, is the financial hole. And this is the second time being in a position like this. And the first time was when my son was about to turn 1 and my big boy just turned 4 just last month. And so it's the same time, the same thing. Similar experience, but I know that I've made a lot of changes within myself. But the cool thing about going through something a second time is that you now have the ability to recognize the patterns within those cycles. And so if you're experiencing the same thing time and time again, what you then now have is a database where you can get the feedback and you can recognize the patterns and you can see where and why things have ended up the way that they have. And so for me, being in this financial hole, the first thing that I dove into, or that I realized, was one, that feeling there of just leaning into it rather than trying to avoid it or run away from it, which are coping mechanisms. So we can cope with things by avoiding it or running away from it, or even just using distractions, which are usually substances. And so for me, just leaning into it gave me the capacity and the strength to be able to surface what I needed to surface. And the first thing that came up was the fear, and how fear has been the undertow that has been really driving the sense of lack, as well as creating this comfort zone. And What I mean by that is that ever since becoming a father, I've created this comfort zone, which ultimately means safety. And I wasn't doing things unless it created a level of safety. And in this context, money is what creates safety, because I can provide for my family. I can keep them housed. I can, feed them. We can have experiences and things of that nature. Whereas before having kids, I didn't have that fear. I didn't have the responsibility. So I had a lot of courage. I was taking a lot of risk. I was doing a lot of things, which is why the podcast even exists, why I went into veganism, created the food trailer, and all of the other different things that I was doing at the very start of my journey. And so when I surfaced that fear, that limiting belief around fear, it made me see just how little courage that I've been utilizing and the less risk that I've been taking, because I would do work if there was a dollar sign attached to it, because the fear was driving that way of being, because I would do things to get pūtea because of what that meant for me and my whānau. But this is what happened, the reality of it. That way of being, of doing, with money attached to it, still placed me in this kind of position. So one, I wasn't getting any money, and then the next thing is I wasn't doing the level of work that I know that I could, because in my mind I wanted to get paid to do that. And it was really confronting to recognize that truth. But in recognizing that truth, I was able to be accountable to that. And so that's why you've seen a major shift in how I've been moving with the Planting Seeds podcast, because I can't necessarily control the outcome of things, but what I can control is how I'm showing up and what I'm doing and the quality of my input. So instead of doing things for the dollar signs now, what I've actually reversed is doing things because it aligns with purpose and providing a service as well as impact. And that's why I've been towing the trailer. Went to a mile recently, went down to Whanganui, and have scaled the frequency of how often I am releasing podcast episodes. So it was one every now and again, where it's now I'm pumping out 2, which is on a Monday and a Thursday, because I've made that complete shift. Because I realized that, man, I might as well go hard, because the fear of it not working out and me being in this position, wow, it's already happened. So I may as well go hard and change what I need to change, but at least I'm doing things with the right intention and leading from the right place. And it's been really cool to be in that particular space again. And it's like a full circle. It's like I've just gone back to the beginning of my journey, and it's really like invigorating. I'm sure that's the right word, because the energy that I'm feeling, it's very familiar to what I was feeling when I first started my journey of self-discovery, of growth, of development, because this is all new in terms of what I'm doing and stepping out and just really prioritizing the mahi that I'm doing, but more importantly, where it's coming from. Not this whole other space around the ego or the fear, because you're always going to be limited coming from that point. The other component that really came up was I needed to put some of the habits that I had to the side, more specifically alcohol. And I went alcohol free for a period of time there, and then I introduced it. And this year, there's been a lot of cool times that I've experienced with alcohol, but it just started to get, wouldn't call it out of hand, but because we're in the situation, there is no need for me to be indulging in alcohol, because it doesn't help where I'm at the moment. And so I've just put that to the side. And what that's allowed me to do, it's allowed me to focus on my health and fitness and having clarity in mind, rather than having the hangover blues or the anxiety. It's given me more of an opportunity to be in my zone more consistently, because that is what is required and needed of me to be able to change the circumstances that we're currently navigating. And so I've put a lot of emphasis on my physical health and well-being as well as my mental, which creates passage to spiritual well-being. But in doing so, I'm training more, I'm eating better, and as a result, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, and my body is responding really well to the work that I'm putting into my training, as well as just being mindful around kai. The cool thing that has come up within this phase of my fitness journey is that I'm starting to, or I have been, just really loving my body, just how it looks. And what I mean by that is because when I've had stints of my physical activity and working on my body, I've always looked in the mirror and there's parts of it that I like, but I always look at what I could be working on. And then I might take a few steps back because life happens, and then all of a sudden I'm wishing that I was where I was. And so that was something that I've noticed this time around, that instead of me looking and critiquing the parts of my body that I want to make better, it's actually just loving that. And that's been an awesome shift because it's allowed me to enjoy the process rather than just suffering through the whole journey, whether that's having little food or over exercising or whatever else that comes with getting into the shape that you want to get into. And so I'm just really enjoying the stage of my physical well-being and getting back into CrossFit, being in that community, the training sessions that me and Henepania are doing at home, the kai that we're having. It's not all healthy, but we have moments where we do enjoy, but there's no sense of guilt. And then that just leads into me being energized for the work that I need to do and ensuring the quality of it. Moving into the mental well-being and the mental clarity, what I've been doing there is I've been deliberately putting things in my mind that resonate with my vibration and my authenticity. And so I'm listening to audios, whether it's on YouTube or on Spotify, and my main jam at the moment is actually Abraham Hicks. So if you don't know who Abraham Hicks is, there'll be heaps of videos that you can look into, but it's ultimately a being that is being channeled through a wahine called Esther, and it's just bomb after bomb after bomb. So I listen to the same thing in the morning, same thing at night, and I'll even listen to it when I'm dropping the kids off to kura, having a workout, doing mahi around the house, because what that is doing when you're listening to the same thing, and if it's resonating with you, it's planting the right thoughts in your mind. And when you understand how crucial that part is, it really helps to shift you internally, because your thoughts are connected to your emotions and your emotions are connected to your actions, which then produce certain results. And so oftentimes when we're in places of looking at the results and the experiences that we're actually going through, we're trying to force our way to changing results by focusing on the results itself. Whereas when you look at the cycle, we actually got to start where everything begins, which is thought. So when you're tuning into the right things and having a more positive attitude, what you're actually tuning into is that whole way of being, because it influences every part and it directly goes into the vibration of you as a person. So when you have a vibration, and I shared about this in the last Grow With Me episode, and you can check that out, whereas our vibration is what we're emanating, that's what we're putting out there, and we're usually, almost certainly, going to find the vibrational match. So if we're going through things, so if I had that fear that was the undertow, that fear is now within my vibration, which is going to create the vibrational match, which is the financial hole that I've been in. And so that's why it was important for me to recognize that, because that was disrupting my vibration, my thoughts, and what I was doing and how I was doing it. And this is the beauty of the whole journey of leaning in, of self-discovery, as well as self-awareness. So when you have self-awareness of yourself, you're able to actually pinpoint certain aspects that gives you a broader understanding of why things are the way they are, and you're the center. And so doing all of these different things have given me such an amazing way of navigating through this. And I'm really proud, to be honest, around how that has been unfolding, because there's been an awesome shift in opportunities. There's been quality and output. And sometimes the thing that I've been looking at as well is the work that I do, whether it's editing, whether it's meeting with people, whether it's planning, whatever it may be. When we have our back up against the wall, we can tend to force our way through things, which is just overload, 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 because we don't want to miss out, or we have this fear of not doing enough. Whereas for me, I've been really aware, but I've also been in tune to know that what I'm doing is enough. And so that could be a little bit of work some days, but then it could be a lot of work other days. Whatever I'm doing throughout my day, I have this mentality and attitude around it's enough. And when you have that, you then allow yourself to trust. So you let go and you surrender and you allow, right? You allow things to take care of itself, rather than being in that control mode and trying to really force and make things happen. Because when you're in that kind of space, what's actually driving that is a deficit, right? It's the fear, it's the negativity, it's the lack, and that actually creates separation from what you're actually trying to get to. And so I've reversed a whole lot of everything that I've been doing to how I was doing it to where I'm at now, by simply just focusing on the things that I can control, which is my vibration, which is my thinking, and which is my mahi. But more importantly, where is that coming from? Is it coming from my authentic expression? That's the main thing that I'm really focusing on as I navigate through this space. The other tool that I've leaned into heavily is being grateful. As gratitude is like a superpower that we often overlook, and it's definitely undervalued. Because I've done this kaupapa and it's called 10 over 10. You're welcome to do it. You're welcome to use it, where it's being grateful for 10 things that you're grateful for over 10 days. And I finished that last week, and then I evolved it into doing 5 over 50. So that's 5 things to be grateful for over 50 days, and I'm on day 8. And what that practice shows you is it shows how much good things are already present in your life. I'm not running out of things to show gratitude for or to show appreciation for, because there's so much that happens throughout our day, and there's so much that has already happened throughout our life, and there's already so much to come. And when you have a lens of gratitude, you're actively seeking the things that you can appreciate, and they're everywhere. They're in the small things, the small moments. They're in the everyday things. And when you're coming from a space of lack or struggle, our mind is triggered to think about where we would rather be, or the things that we would rather have. So that is taking you away from the present moment. That is taking you away from your life. Whereas gratitude helps you to appreciate your life. And even in trying times, even in challenges and struggles, there's something to be grateful for in it. And that's universal law, right? You can't have good without the bad. There's bad and good, and there's good and bad. And it's being able to use perspective to be able to see those things. And that's the muscle that we're training. It's the muscle of perspective. It's the muscle of attention. And it's the muscle of attitude. The more consistent you are at doing that, what we're ultimately doing is we're rewriting conditioning so that we can actually be aligned and open and attuned. And it's been like amazing. It's been more good than there has been bad. Like, and the challenges that have come up within this is, the reminder, sometimes you look at the bank account and there's still no money. Or it's having to ring up the bills and having to ask for a payment extension or to set up a payment arrangement. And so when I get into those kinds of modes, I can feel myself go off center, and I can notice where my thoughts are going. And that for me is a way to come back into the vibration through positive thinking, through the idea and the knowing that everything is working out as it should. And I just got to be here and focus on what I'm doing now, rather than trying to attach to the things that I can't control, which is if I just had the money now, then all of my worries would go away. But that's not the reality in the physical anyway. Where I can be emotionally and energetically is in that point. And one of the things that I've been sharing quite a lot in one of the audios from Abraham Hicks, it talks about how there's this example of, is it easier for you to go and deposit $10 million into the bank account this afternoon or tomorrow? Or is it easier to think about or to emotionally feel into the feeling of having $10 million? And so the obvious answer there is it's way easier to think and feel into the emotion of having. And that's what I'm talking about, where I am energetically and vibrationally, as I'm in that zone of already having, but the physical manifestation of the money is just catching up. Ka pai, but it's starting to come in through different opportunities. And the first one that came through is just people around us. We've had a few good friends who have gifted money so that they could support us through this time. And that was a breakdown too, because there's that mentality, particularly for Tāne, I'm the provider, I'm the protector, I'll do it myself. And usually you block those kinds of things off, where it's gifts or, people's generosity, because you have that ego and attachment to wanting to do it all yourself, whereas that's something that I've broken down, and I've been humble in receiving, but also just very gracious in receiving. But it's not really the money, it's the care and love that the bros and whānau have for me and my whānau. But it's not only that, it's also the belief that they have in what I'm doing and what I'm creating. So that's giving me a lot of fuel just to keep going, because when you're in that financial hole and you've got a whānau, you think about changing your pathway, because having a steady income and being in that particular space is a lot better because of the safety that it provides, right? But for me, I love what I do, and I've been able to sustain us for a while. But this is just the moment in time, and it's getting support in that way that just gives me the confirmation that I just got to keep showing up, that I got to hold steadfast and continue to do this mahi, because I love it and I enjoy it, and it's very purposeful for me. And there's been a few other opportunities. And so, Wara, who was on the podcast a few episodes ago, he's got a movement here called Waiariki Whānau. And we've been catching up quite frequently, and he asked how I've been sustaining myself. And I said, brother, I haven't. I've just been doing it because I love it. So when I hook up the trailer, when I put the hours into editing, I'm not getting paid for that, but I do it because I feel it's something that I'm good at, and it's something that I enjoy to do. And I know that it's having an impact and it's supporting people. And so that's why I do it. And so the bro ended up creating a role within his movement. And the role is actually the perfect thing for me, because it allows me to do what I love, which will be capturing testimonies and connecting with people. But it's also very flexible. So it's a part-time role on a good wage that creates a weekly sense of stability for my whānau. But also it gives me the freedom to continue to do what I'm doing, right? And that's happened because of everything that I have been doing and leading from this point. The other cool opportunity that I'll share here too is one of the funding that I did go for earlier in the year has been given the green tick, which is a brother-to-brother kaupapa that I've already actioned. But instead of it being in the media podcasting space, it's actually supporting young Tāne from around the Bay of Plenty towards wellness, breaking through conditioning and connecting to a deeper part in themselves, and using all of the tools and concepts and the way that I live to support them throughout their journey. And so these are the things that have been happening, and those are the things that I'm tuning into more so. But there's no attachment. Kapai, there's no attachment to these particular pathways in terms of the attachment that I'm really speaking into is that, if it doesn't work out, like that's still okay. Like if that green tick turns into a red tick, then that's okay. If the work with wara doesn't work out, then that's okay. It's just trying to release the sense of attachment to anything, but more importantly, just connecting to me. And you heard Harmonious Ra and you heard the bro Terurangi talk about it. It's all about that journey within. And it's being in your center and not letting anything shake you off. Because we all have that power, but we also have that responsibility. That we're responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for our internal state of being. And what really helps that is what we're tuning into. And Po Whitinui spoke about that too, is like, what channel are we tuning into? And when we talk about a channel, it's a focus, it's our focus and our attention. So whatever channel we're dialing into is what we're giving our attention to. So that could be, in your reality, you could be dialing into all of the bad things that are happening. So that's going to be your experience. You could be feeding into the distraction of what's happening on social media. So that's going to have an effect on how you are and how you're feeling and the mood you're in. But if you don't like whatever it is that you're tuning into, or the focus, you literally have the power to shift and change that channel. Like I could be over here having a mean dance to some good music and tuning into this radio frequency, and then I could ask the bro down the road and I'll be like, "Far, did you hear that song on that frequency?" And the bro could be just watching news. He could be listening to something horrific. And so that there illustrates the difference between what they're tuning into and what someone else is tuning into. And you are able to dial into whatever frequency or whatever channel that you feel is going to be best for you. And so for me, that's all that I've been focusing on. What am I putting my attention to? Where am I within myself? What am I doing? What I do is enough. What are the things that I could do to help just make my vibration stronger? And it's all of that process there that has helped me to move in the way that I have, rather than just letting this be the weight that I struggle to carry, which creates the stress. And that's ultimately been the major lessons and reflections throughout this season. Now, the back is still up against the wall in the physical in terms of like there's still financial hardship. However, things are in motion for that to change. And it's just trusting that things are working out for me as they always do. And also the knowing that I've been through all of my worst days already. This is just the milestone in that chapter and I'll get through this. And so by no means is this like a feel sorry for me kind of episode. This is an episode to share the realities of my personal life and what's been going on and why I choose to do this kind of mahi. Because it resonates, it resonates deeply with me that it's good for me to go through things in life because it gives me more to be able to share with other people who sit across from me and for you guys who tune in to the podcast episode. So things are shifting, things are moving, but where I'm at within myself is a really, really good place. And just really grateful for everyone who has been supporting my journey. Really grateful for you, the listeners and supporters of the Planting Seeds podcast that continue to give me the energy and the purpose to keep showing up and holding steadfast to this kaupapa. So I'll continue to do this. I'll continue to show up and things will continue to match that, if that makes sense. And so that's that. That's me. So I hope there was something in there. Would love to hear some highlights. If there's anything that stuck out to you, resonated with you, drop it in the comments, please. And we're just going to move into the offering. And that offering is the wānanga, the Seeds of Life Wānanga that is happening next weekend in Otamarako, which is near Whakatane as well as Tauranga. And what that is essentially, it's a space where people can come together. There's nothing like being in person and being in retreats and in wānanga settings. We have the luxury of time to be able to understand yourself and learn new things, but also connect with people. I've gone to plenty of wānanga in my time. I've paid heaps of money to go to spaces, and I always get something from it. There's always something in it that really helps me with what I'm going through at that particular stage of my life. The main theme of this particular wānanga is aligning to your authentic nature or breaking through the conditioning to get to your authenticity. And so everything that I've been going through personally has been my playing field, as I'm the guinea pig in my own life, has been the playing field to get me back to that authentic self and expressing that freely. And so that's why this is the theme, is because everything that I've gone through recently and everything that I've gone through in the past has led me to this point of just being true to me. Bug everything else that sort of takes me away from that. Ka pai, and that's what I want to offer to people who are coming into Seeds of Life next weekend. And so we're going to be doing that by going into workshops, right? By myself, I've invited a few other people to facilitate workshops. And that'll be breaking things down like vibrational frequency, conditioning, the mind, subconscious mind. Then we'll look into breaking cycles, like removing from cycles, all cycles, like from growth cycles, from healing cycles, and so that you can just be yourself, because the truth of the matter is that you've already healed. Like, you're already healed. And when you're in the cycle of growth, there's always going to be something else that's going to require more of you just to get to the version that already exists within you. So can we detach from cycles so that we can just be? And when you're in that space, when you do, you then trust. You've heard me talk about trust a lot already, but that's speaking to the ability to let go and surrender, right? And to surrender. The other components of the wānanga is we're going to add a physical movement into the wānanga. And that could be an easy mobility, or could be a walk on the beach, or could be a circuit, depending on how many people there are, so that we can hit that physical po. Then the other cool part that I'm going to be sharing is I'm bringing the mobile studio, and we're going to do another live podcast session at the wānanga. So these are the things that are going to be in place for Seeds of Life next weekend. It's only $200, which covers your accommodation at the marae, all of your kai, all of the workshops, as well as just gifting koha to those who come and facilitate. So with that being said, if that sounds like you, if you want an opportunity just to show up for yourself, if you want an opportunity to receive, if you want an opportunity to break through those nerves to try something new, then this is for you. It's for both tāne and wahine, right? Use the link in the bio to get in touch with me, or you can hit me up on Instagram DM. And if finances is your issue, then just know that if your main purpose is for that whole feeling of knowing that you resonate with this, just know that that can be worked out, right? That part of the challenge can be worked out. If time doesn't work out for you, then maybe Seeds of Self, which is the online community, is something that you're keen to step into, which is basically everything that we're going to do in wānanga, but we do in an online setting. We have like-minded people around you. We catch up for weekly Zooms, and we also just have a community page where we can stay interactive and engage with one another. And you can find that link in the bio as well. So that's what I want to share in this Grow With Me episode, right? The lessons and reflections in my own personal life, but to also talk about the offering of Seeds of Life. And I'm very excited for those things, and also just for the people who are going to be present. So, i runga i tērā, thank you for gifting me your time and attention. And I do hope that there was something in here that, just resonated and landed with you. And also, if you're someone who is going to be coming to a wānanga or coming into Seeds of Self, look forward to connecting with you. Tēnā koutou. Thank you. Ngā mihi.